it going? Welcome to NoDQ Live. This is day 9 of the 12 days of NoDQ Live. Happy Rusev Day to everyone out there, of course. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's on demand or live. I appreciate your viewership. Today's main topic will be about something I never thought I would be talking about again, and that is, hopefully I can do this because of my sore throat, the XFL. The XFL is possibly coming back. That is the big news story, the big rumor going around right now. Thank you all in the chat room for tuning in. Hello, guys. Vince McMahon is reportedly starting up another sports entertainment entity in addition to WWE. And there's been talk about this entity reviving the XFL. The idea is that this second company would run the XFL. That way, WWE stock doesn't take a hit. Now, when I first heard this rumor about Vince wanting to perhaps bring back the XFL, I thought it was a terrible idea. That's my initial reaction, that it's not going to work. As I've said before over the years, the XFL was too much wrestling for football fans and too much football for wrestling fans. Now, with that being said, I've seen a lot of comments from people that think this could actually work, that maybe, just maybe, the XFL could succeed if it was brought back. Brother Nero says Vince running 2 companies, and Deshaun White wants to know why. Why, you ask? I would say because Vince has a lot of money to burn, and he's 72 years old. He's not going to live forever, so why not spend that money and try to do something? We all know how Vince feels. He wants to succeed, and I think it probably eats at Vince every day, the fact that he could not make the XFL succeed. Tony says, hey Aaron, love the beard. Thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate it. The Lone Wolf says, how much degree on out of mind is Vince in your opinion? Oh, no question. Vince is like a 10. 1 out of 10 or 1 to 10 when it comes to being out of his mind. He's got to be at a 10. It's the Costanza says, should use that money on Pyro. Brian says, what kind of TV deal would WWE look for with the XFL? Well, clearly the best one possible. The question is, which network would want to take that risk, knowing the XFL already failed once? It's a big change. It's a big chance to try and do something with the XFL and for Vince to go in this direction when he hasn't really done anything outside of WWE for many years. MJ Styles, can you explain the XFL briefly? Well, back in 1999, 2000, Vince decided he wanted to start a football league. And the XFL was meant to be an alternative to the NFL. The problem was, I felt like I said, it was too much football for wrestling fans and too much wrestling for football fans. And WWE was trying to do all the sports entertainment stuff with the XFL and try to make it. It's really hard for me to explain because I'm not a football fan. You know, that would be something somebody that follows football could answer better. But I'm just saying from my own personal viewership of the XFL, I just could not get into it because I felt like I was watching football, and I'm not a football fan. And I can understand football fans not being interested in the XFL. Brother Nero says, so is Jinder Mahal part of the XFL? Larby says this is stupid. Mike Awesome says Extreme Failure League. So for those of you that think it might be a good idea, I'm curious as to why you think that way. If you leave a comment, I will go ahead and read it off, why you think this could work, especially if you're a football fan, because I've seen some comments on social media, people thinking that this actually could work. You know, a lot of people apparently are disgruntled with the NFL and the current situation. XPellin209X says the NFL has lost a lot of viewers on the take a knee salute. MJ Styles says it will not work because it's not global. Costa says, will the XFL make Roman Reigns look strong? Hamp Connell, he's very blunt with this. He says, I think it's a great idea because hopefully it will also kill WWE. Brother Nero says it could work if it was WWE superstars playing, have AJ as quarterback. So Brother Nero's just goofing off here. Video Game Lover 58 says XFL LOL. Jigo says maybe if they put their own spin on it and not just sports entertainment football. Bailey says XFL because NFL is losing ratings and fans. XFL could provide a new alternative for fans. Blake says if it's a success, then you'll get more football fans watching WWE and vice versa. Walter thinks it shouldn't be done. He says, did not work the first time, leave it alone. So, some various opinions about this. Of course, right now, WWE has not confirmed anything about this happening, only that Vince is going with this idea of starting up a new entity called Alpha Entertainment. That's all we know right now. Apparently, there's going to be some sort of announcement made in January, and we'll see. We'll see if Vince does, in fact, decide to give this a second shot. Mitch says, this is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. Mike Awesome says, WWE needs to focus on strictly wrestling, especially when their brand is becoming stale. Well, I agree on that. And Ricky Lawson, this actually has nothing to do with Dave Meltzer. This was another reporter that broke this story about Vince wanting to perhaps relaunch the XFL. I guess there's a lot of free agents like Colin Kaepernick, and that's why some people think this could be a success. But the thing is, that's going to take a lot of money to get these guys involved. So I don't know how much money Vince is willing to spend on this, but you would think that they are going to need to spend a considerable amount of money for this to even have a shot at working. I am very skeptical about it personally, but we'll see. We'll see if they can make it work, if they do in fact decide to make that effort. Anyways, that's pretty much all I know at this point about it. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for any further updates regarding that. Betty says, do you go to Trailblazers games? I don't watch sports. That's the thing. I don't watch any sports whatsoever. So I have a limited knowledge in football, and when I watched the XFL, it just felt like it was too football for me. I did give it a shot, though. I did, in fact, try to watch the XFL and get into it, but I just couldn't. Jeremy's upset because they cannot do pyro or set designs, but they have the money for this. The thing is that Vince is spending his own personal money on this project if he does it. So it's not WWE money. It's separate. Anyways, let's move on here. Any questions you have, anything you would like me to discuss? We'll go ahead and move on to some other topics here. Betty Lucas, do you miss Enzo and Cass? Yeah, I do. And as I mentioned on previous videos, I would not mind seeing Enzo and Cass reunited when Cass returns from his injury, and maybe even get Carmella back into the mix. Kyles, do you watch the Super Bowl? No. I don't watch the Super Bowl. The only time I have is when I was with other people and I was pretty much forced into it. Do you like Star Wars? No. Zero interest in Star Wars. I've never been a Star Wars fan. Jeremy says, thoughts on the Mila Khalifa comments. I think she's just trying to get attention. I mean, it's a pretty naive comment to make, to rip into wrestling for not being a real sport. I mean, that is so 1980s, and yeah, I just think it's her trying to draw attention and maybe just troll people. I really don't think anybody's that dumb to make a comment like that. I feel like she's just saying it because she knew it would get people worked up. And as Eric Bischoff says, controversy creates cash. Ricky Lawson, are there any TNA topics in the NoDQ Awards? Actually, TNA did not really get nominated for anything, whether it was positive or negative. I guess that's just a sign that TNA is really irrelevant at this point. Man, the viewership for Impact Wrestling this week was, oh boy, it was like 161,000 people watching Impact Wrestling. I wonder if a test pattern would actually draw more viewers than Impact Wrestling. I mean, at what point would a test pattern get more people watching? Thoughts on JBL returning? It was just for the tribute to the troops, so I'm okay with it. If he's back regularly, I would not be a fan of it. I actually did enjoy Tribute to the Troops. I liked it because it was a change of pace. It reminds me of WCW when WCW would do Nitro outdoors, like in Panama City and the Mall of America, different types of venues instead of traditional arenas. I wish WWE would do this more often. Do some shows outdoors and in different types of settings. I think it would be really interesting just to change things up. You know, doing a show every single week in a major arena, it gets boring after a while. That was one of the things I liked about WCW, an innovative thing that Bischoff did, doing stuff like Bash at the Beach on the beach, and even Road Wild. While it didn't really work in terms of crowd reactions and WCW made no live gate from those events, at least it was unique and something different. And I miss that. I wish WWE would do more stuff like outdoor events and different types of venues. So that was one thing I enjoyed about Tribute to the Troops, just that it was something different from the norm. What failed worse, TNA or WCW? WCW, I mean, TNA never lost the amount of money that WCW did. I mean, not even close. For all the bad things we say about TNA, TNA has managed to stay in business for all these years because they were able to cut their losses and, downsize when they needed to. WCW had all those big contracts, and the problem was the talent. They were still making those big figures, those big six-figure incomes when the company wasn't making the money. You know, they were not making the pay-per-view money, they were not making the live attendance money, and they were just paying out all this money, but the money wasn't coming back into the company, so they were just bleeding money, basically. Hamp Connell, how much money did WCW pay Kiss? I don't know an exact figure, but it was a lot. I seem to remember it being a significant amount, and the rating was terrible from what I remember. Hero Villain 5 says, been watching NoDQ CAW since the NoDQ CAW days. You should bring it back for a one-night stand. I would if WWE would actually produce a good wrestling game. We have a super chat donation here from Alan Norte. Your thoughts on Finn Balor's new Forever shirt? I find it amusing. I find it funny that WWE is taking advantage of the reports that Vince felt Finn Balor wasn't over enough to be in the Royal Rumble match, so they're making a t-shirt. It is quite amusing. The question is, will WWE actually push Finn Balor and put him in the title match? I'm really curious to see how the crowd in Philadelphia reacts to that Universal title match if Finn Balor is not in it. LB King, who will help Cody sell 10,000 seats? Well, you got the Young Bucks, of course. Wait, where's the other one here? You got the Young Bucks. You got a bunch of other indie guys, probably Kenny Omega. Would not surprise me if he's involved. And maybe they'll have a few surprises. Maybe Jericho, if Jericho is available. I'm sure Cody will bring in as much talent as possible. The question is, can they pull it off? Can they draw 10,000 people? That really remains to be seen. Larby, thoughts on the Ring of Honor women's title? I did see the actual belt. I think it's a cool design. I like it. So good for Ring of Honor. I really don't know much more beyond that. Y2 Alpha 70, boring Bucks of Youth. Ouch. And Ricky Lawson says Young Bucks are not a draw. Walter Cruz, should Finn Balor turn heel and get the club reunion in WWE? I've been asked this question a lot. Actually, if you watch the latest NoDQ video, which I just posted last night, I do talk about possible ideas for Finn Balor in 2018. Maybe move him to SmackDown Live. I think that would be a good idea. SJP says, happy Rusev Day. Aaron, how are you today? Did you like the NWA in the 80s? Happy Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day. All right. I'm doing all right. I got a bit of a sore throat here, as you could probably tell. We're on the 9th day of 12 days of NoDQ Live, so it's a bit of a struggle now to get to 12, but I'm pulling through here. Did I like the NWA in the 80s? Yeah, I mean, I was still a WWF guy for sure, but I did enjoy the Horsemen. I did enjoy the Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair feud. I enjoyed Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors. So yeah, I would say I did enjoy the NWA, but not as much as the WWF. TNA will outlive us all, from Walter Cruz. Absolutely. This guy, what do you think would cause the end of WWE as a business? WCW levels of incompetence, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think WWE is too well of an oiled machine for that to happen. It would really take a lot for WWE to go out of business, as far as I'm concerned. WCW just had so many problems with its infrastructure, and that's what ultimately led to its downfall. Do you like anything about Jeff Jarrett, says Psycho Jet Black? I like his phrase, don't piss me off, but I cannot say there's a whole lot I liked about Jeff Jarrett. I thought he was a good wrestler, but I think he was very over-pushed. That's just my opinion, of course. Andy says, did you discuss the XFL return topic yet? Yeah, I did. The beginning of the video, you can check that out. About the first 7-8 minutes of the video, I talked about that. Basically, I think it is a bad idea, but some people think it could work. If WWE, or I should say Vince actually, not WWE, gives it a second try, and I feel Vince has a lot of money to burn, so he's going to do what he's going to do. WCW had very bad leadership problems. Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that. It was just the way the company was run, you know, being part of the Turner umbrella. The left side didn't know what the right side was doing, that type of thing. It was just a mess. The way the company was run, you know, they were pretty much destined for self-destruction. Victor says, did you watch the final battle? I only saw a little bit of it. I didn't see much of it. I saw the Young Bucks match, and it actually looked like it was a bit sloppy from what I could tell. Like it seems like they were off on a lot of stuff. Like their moves were not connecting, and you know they were doing a million things in the match, tons of super kicks, all that stuff. You know, I wasn't all that impressed with it, and I just watched a little bit of it. I have to say I'm not really a fan of the Cody Rhodes bleach blonde hairstyle. You know, he does look more like Dustin with that, of course, but I think he looked better before. I think Kayfabe Candy Ass put it best. You know, he looks too much like every other guy in wrestling history that's had bleach blonde hair, so I definitely feel he should go back to his old look. I think he should grow the mustache back, quite frankly. Larby, your hopes for 2018 in wrestling? I hope we get some major developments in WWE and some things changing and things that will lead to more fans tuning in and get some real buzz about WWE again. That's what I'm hoping. You know, I'm hoping maybe CM Punk will return. I'm always hoping for that. I'm not getting my hopes up though, but yeah, I mean that would be the #1 thing I would like to see in wrestling is CM Punk come back. Ricky Lawson says, keep Brandy Rhodes away from the ring. Well, there you go. What if Vince brought in Ted Turner for an appearance? Vince has been wanting to do that for a long time. I mean, I think Vince wanted Ted Turner to appear at WrestleMania, but, you know, Ted Turner wasn't going to do that. I think if Oh no, here we go again. What did you think of the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead? Why do I keep getting these questions about The Walking Dead? But anyways, you know, I think if Ted Turner was open to doing it, I think WWE would love to have him in the Hall of Fame in the celebrity wing. But I don't think Ted Turner has any real interest in doing that. Arabian Muslim says WWE should bring Val Venus back. I'd love to see Val Venus on the 25th anniversary of Raw. You know, I did forget to mention when we were doing the NoDQ panel for the best theme songs, I forgot to mention Gangrel. Gangrel had an awesome theme song, and I've been watching some of the Raws from '98. I'd love to see Gangrel at the 25th anniversary of Raw. And he definitely had one of the more underrated theme songs in WWE. So that would be really cool to see him come back. As Kayfabe Candy S says, awesome entrance too. Brother Nero says, do you think WWE could pull off an NXT Invasion storyline with better booking than WCW? Yeah, if they had good booking, they could do any kind of invasion, whether it's NXT or have another outside group. It's all about making it believable and elevating the Invaders. You know, what worked about the NWO was that the Invaders were booked super strong and they were positioned as a real threat to WCW. The problem with the Alliance, WCW and ECW, is that the way they were booked, nobody took them seriously as being at WWE's level. You know, DDP was made to look inferior to The Undertaker, and Booker T was made to look inferior to The Rock. And that's why it didn't really work, because the Invaders were booked to look inferior to the WWE guys. When will Rusev become WWE champion? I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Even though every day is Rusev Day, I don't think we're going to see Rusev as WWE champion. I would have rather seen Rusev as champion than Jinder Mahal, but I don't think, you know, Bulgaria doesn't have 1.3 billion people or whatever, so WWE's not going to do it. Do you think Batista versus Reigns is a good match? I would be intrigued by it. I think it's a good match, but I don't know if it would get a great reaction from the fans, just because so many people were negative on Batista last time, and Roman Reigns isn't exactly the most popular guy with the male audience, so that one could be a bit tricky, you know. I don't know how the fans would react to that one. Brother Nero says the Bludgeon Brothers theme is out by CFOs. Right on, I will definitely head over to Spotify and start bumping that around the greater Portland area for sure. Just driving in the car and playing the Bludgeon Brothers theme song. Sounds like a plan. Universal Muscle, what does a heel Bayley look like to you? A heel Bayley, that I have no idea how to even answer. I'm not sure if a heel Bayley would work. I mean, I've talked about this before. It would be a huge gamble by the WWE to turn her heel. You would really have to, I don't know what you would do. I really don't. I really don't know how to answer that question. Because you could make her like Jason Jordan, where you just have her be a really cheesy babyface and that's how she's a heel. Or you make her an actual heel where she does heel things, but then you would be changing her character a lot. So I'm not really sure how you would make that work, quite frankly. Darian X says she would use a bear hug for her finisher. There you go. RW says have her make the kids cry and hate on them. Brother Nero says, do you think Rude wins the US title and turns heel this Sunday? Don't think that's going to happen. My prediction was Rude will hit the glorious DDT on Dolph Ziggler, and then Baron Corbin will steal the pin. Wrestling Historian says Bayley is already a really cheesy babyface. Jeremy Adams says Bayley sucks. Mike Awesome says I was born in San Jose and I don't even like Bayley. Well, there you go. Chris Mander says, should Nakamura change his finisher to sweet shin music? Didn't James Ellsworth already do that? Wouldn't that be gimmick infringement? This guy says Bailey is trash. It's the Costanza says the only way to make Kane a monster again is to bring back the 1997 theme song. I really don't think the theme song has anything to do with it. You know, Kane is a nostalgic character at this point. So you just have him do his final run and let that be it. I don't think, you know, maybe bringing back the old theme song would get him a better reaction. But I think, I don't know what you would do with Kane to make him more credible at this stage of the game. I think, you know, he should just have a couple more matches and call it a career. Maybe for his final match, he could use his old theme song. I have not read the Walking Dead comics, and I was never really a fan of Seinfeld, to answer your guys' non-wrestling questions here. Walter Cruz says, Kane is too old, love and respect him, but Father Time is undefeated. That is very true. Brother Nero says, in your opinion, who should have ended the streak? Well, you know, in hindsight, now I can say Braun Strowman would have been a great choice if Undertaker's streak had remained intact. If Undertaker had not lost at WrestleMania 30, I think Braun Strowman would have been the closest thing to a good candidate to end the Undertaker's streak. Strowman would have been a great choice, but of course, it's easy to say that now. Back then, we really didn't know. But back then, my opinion was that the guy that should have been the Undertaker was a guy who was going to be booked as the future of the company. Now, Roman Reigns might have been the right guy, but I think Strowman would have been a more popular choice. You know, Strowman, some people feel, is like the new phenom of WWE moving forward, the real dominant monster. And that would have been believable if Strowman had knocked off The Undertaker, the young lion beating the old lion, basically. Spunky 1991, do you think The Rock or Sting will wrestle again? Rock is a maybe. Sting, I think, to use my own phrase, highly unlikely in all likelihood. Arabian Muslim, when will Vince die? Vince will die when he dies. Nobody knows. You know, he could live another 20 years. He might die tomorrow. Nobody knows. This guy says, will you go see the new Cena movie? Probably not. Interesting note here. I have not been to a movie theater to watch a movie in about 2.5 years. It's been a while. Brother Nero says, would you like to see Vicky Guerrero in the 25th anniversary of Raw? Sure, I would be fine with that. But like I said, I'd like to see some of the old-timers like Gangrel come back, like Ken Shamrock, maybe even Steve Blackman. This guy says, why is your saying not a t-shirt yet? Well, I have It Is What It Is on the NoDQ video t-shirt, which you could check out at ProWrestlingTees.com. Use the code SAVE5 to get a discount. Can you please dance to Shawn Michaels' theme song? No, I will not. Unless we get 500 live viewers, I will not be doing that. So, if we get 500, I'll consider it. Mike Nixon, if Eddie Guerrero had never died, how much longer do you think he would have wrestled for? Great question. I think he would have wrestled for maybe 5-6 years, but I feel like him and Benoit, their careers were starting to wind down by that point. It's really hard to say because, you know, I think both of them were physically breaking down, and we all know Benoit's brain damage, and I think just physically, you know, Eddie was physically very banged up. So I don't know how long both of them would have kept wrestling. I think maybe 5 years tops. You know, if they had both lived, they might have suffered other injuries. We really don't know. Ultimate Gaming Prankster, in your opinion, what is a good match? A good match is a combination of obviously the in-ring performance, the characters, the storyline, the crowd reaction. I really look at it from all aspects. There's got to be all these things that are factors to make a good match, in my opinion. It's not just two guys going out there and doing moves. You know, you're telling a story with the moves, with the characters, with the storyline, the commentary, you know, the commentators putting over what you're seeing in the ring, and the crowd reacting to it, the crowd getting into it. So it's really a combination of all that stuff. What games do you have on Nintendo Switch? I have the new Mario game and I have Mario Kart 8. That's about it right now. Jeffrey just arrived. He left a $2 Super Chat donation. Thank you, Jeffrey. Certified G is here, baby. Y2 Alpha 70 says Dunn versus Bate is the match of the year. Well, that is definitely debatable. That was my personal pick for match of the year. Was it? Actually, I think I went with Usos versus New Day. I might have gone with Usos versus New Day now that I think about it. But Dunn versus Bate is right up there. And, you know, many would argue the Omega versus Okada match, both of them. By the way, you guys can vote. You have the rest of the month. You can vote over at NoDQ.com/awards to cast your votes for the 2017 NoDQ.com Year-End Awards. Betty says, do you enjoy Odyssey? I have not actually played it yet. I haven't really had the time to start on it, but I do plan on playing it when I have some downtime over the holidays. Jeffrey, I did mention Cody's hair earlier. Not really a fan of it. I agree with Kayfabe Candy Ass's take on that. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. As you can tell, I am very rapidly losing my voice here. It's been a struggle the last couple of days to do this, battling a sore throat, and I feel, you know, I committed to 12 days of NoDQ Live, so I'm going to keep going. Tomorrow night, I will be doing the first ever NoDQ Live review video for a WWE pay-per-view, Clash of Champions. I will be doing live pay-per-view play-by-play coverage over at NoDQ.com, so check that out. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. I will be back tomorrow night for another video, and then Monday and Tuesday night, the normal times for my Raw and SmackDown Live review videos. So stay tuned. Please spread the word. Tell a friend about NoDQ Live, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.